Rachel sat in silence, staring at the shredded remains of her family albums. As she gazed at the torn photos, she could not help but replay in her mind Linda's Oscar-worthy performance that morning. Linda had gasped, "Oh dear, your cat must have done this," with an innocence so forced it bordered on mockery, even though Rachel never owned a cat. A knowing smirk exchanged between Linda and Emily, her sister-in-law, confirmed what Rachel had long suspected. From the moment she married David 5 years ago, it was clear. Linda and Emily saw her as an outsider invading their unbreakable family fortress. The cruelty of the moment weighed heavily on Rachel. Her meticulously preserved albums, her only tangible connection to the parents she lost in a tragic accident, were at risk. 3 weeks earlier, at a Sunday dinner, David and Rachel had joyfully announced their first pregnancy. David's eyes shone with pride as he declared his forthcoming fatherhood. Instead of sharing in the happiness, Linda had coldly remarked that they would need to make room for baby things, while Emily added that some storage could be freed by moving Rachel's cherished photo collection. Their words stung, marking the beginning of relentless verbal jabs. Over the following weeks, the seemingly helpful suggestions grew more biting. Linda and Emily offered advice on decluttering, always hinting that Rachel's precious albums were outdated relics. Every casual mention of new memories felt like a deliberate slight against the irreplaceable moments captured in those photographs. Rachel, who had guarded the only remnants of her parents' love, felt increasingly isolated. Their comments, cloaked in feigned concern, revealed a dark intent. They wanted to erase the past. Slowly, Rachel began to realize that their relentless push for a fresh start was less about progress and more about control. One morning, while David was away on a business trip, Rachel entered the spare room and found a nightmare unfolding. There, on the floor among scattered paper fragments, stood Linda, methodically tearing through the pages of Rachel's family albums. Photographs of her parents' wedding, childhood birthdays, and their last family vacation were reduced to shredded scraps. Behind Linda, Emily theatrically whispered that the cat must have done it, even though everyone knew there was no cat. The sight struck Rachel like a physical blow. Her memories, the very essence of her family history, were being destroyed. Rachel's heart pounded as she confronted the women. Her voice, low and quivering with restrained anger, demanded that they not touch what remained of her family's legacy. Emily tried to mask her amusement with a feigned display of concern, while Linda's patronizing smile deepened the wound. In that charged moment, Rachel pulled out her phone and called David, her hands trembling yet determined. Unknown to Linda and Emily, Rachel had installed a small security camera in the spare room, an installation born of suspicion and hope that one day, the truth might be captured on film. David's concerned voice answered quickly on the line. He asked what was wrong, and Rachel's voice broke as she recounted the horrifying discovery. Before she could explain further, Linda snatched the phone from her hand, interjecting that it was all a misunderstanding caused by a stray cat. David's tone shifted from disbelief to anger as he listened. His protective instincts flared, and his words grew sharp with admonition. The call, now filled with David's rising fury, confirmed to Rachel that the cruel charade would not go unchallenged. Even as Linda and Emily tried to smooth over their misdeeds with rehearsed apologies, Rachel's resolve only strengthened. She informed David that she had recorded the entire incident. The security camera had captured every moment, every laugh, every mocking glance, and every deliberate rip of her albums. As Linda and Emily exchanged uneasy glances, their confident veneer began to crack. Rachel's calm yet resolute tone made it clear. This time, they had crossed a line. David's reassuring voice promised that he would return home immediately to set things right. When David finally arrived, his expression was a mixture of concern and righteous anger. He listened intently as Rachel detailed how Linda and Emily had desecrated her precious family photos. In a commanding tone, David demanded that they remain in the house until the video evidence was reviewed. The confrontation grew heated as David denounced the callous behavior of his own mother and sister. Their rehearsed expressions of sympathy dissolved into awkward silence. With every passing moment, the truth captured on the security camera left no room for further denials or excuses. In the days that followed, the atmosphere in the house was heavy with tension. David set strict boundaries with Linda and Emily, canceling regular family gatherings and insisting on counseling for all involved. Meanwhile, Rachel began the painstaking task of gathering what remained of her memories. Each torn piece of photo felt like another wound, a fresh reminder of the loss of her parents. Yet, amid the sorrow, there flickered a small light of defiance. Rachel clung to the conviction that the truth, once exposed, would help mend the fractures within her family. 3 days later, an unexpected email arrived from Katie, the teenage daughter of Emily. In the message, Katie apologized for her mother and grandmother's actions and explained that she had taken photographs of the albums during a family dinner. Attached were over 100 clear images, each capturing a cherished memory. Although they were not perfect reproductions, the photos offered a glimmer of hope. As Rachel opened each attachment, tears streamed down her face. The images affirmed that her past, her parents' love, their legacy, still lived on, despite the destructive actions of those who claimed to care. Buoyed by Katie's unexpected kindness, Rachel felt a renewed determination to rebuild what was lost. With David's comforting support, she gathered the torn fragments and began piecing them back together. Every scrap of paper was a reminder of the moments of joy and sorrow that had defined her childhood. Though the process was slow and filled with heartache, Rachel's careful work was both an act of resistance and a tribute to her parents. In each reconstructed album, she found not just memories, but a promise that the past would not be erased by cruelty. That same evening, Linda and Emily returned unannounced with expensive replacement albums and a pre-written letter of apology. Their faces were set in practiced expressions, as if reciting lines from a well-rehearsed play. Before they could speak, David's father, Robert, entered the room with an air of quiet authority. Robert, whose presence commanded respect, demanded that they sit and listen. His tone was measured yet firm as he recounted years of observing their subtle manipulations and outright cruelty. His words were a quiet condemnation, a reminder that true family values were not to be trampled for the sake of convenience. Robert's disapproval cut through the tension in the room like a knife. He explained that the albums were not mere objects but sacred repositories of family history, memories that no one had the right to discard. Linda and Emily's feigned concern crumbled as Robert recounted specific moments of cruelty. The callous comments, the calculated destruction, and the repeated attempts to force Rachel to let go of her past. His disappointed gaze left no doubt that the family legacy was beyond their control. In that charged silence, Robert's words underscored a truth that resonated deeply with everyone present. With David standing firmly by her side, Rachel confronted Linda directly. She declared that the albums were not just outdated keepsakes, but priceless memories of her parents, memories that no one could erase. Her voice, though trembling, was resolute as she accused Linda and Emily of attempting to rewrite the past for their own convenience. David's supportive presence lent strength to her words. The confrontation revealed deep-seated resentments, a struggle between preserving genuine love and allowing cruelty to masquerade as progress. For the first time, the rift within the family was laid bare for all to see. At that moment, Linda and Emily found themselves cornered by the weight of undeniable evidence. Their once confident demeanors gave way to regret and panic as David's anger and Robert's disapproval intensified. They hastily gathered their things, their attempts at justification collapsing under the scrutiny of the recorded video and the damning details of their orchestrated cruelty. As they prepared to leave, Linda muttered that the family had been perfect before Rachel arrived, a feeble defense that only deepened the sense of betrayal. With their departure, an uncomfortable silence filled the room, marking a turning point for the fractured family. In the days that followed, David and Rachel worked to re-establish a sense of normalcy in their home. David set clear boundaries with his mother and sister, canceling all family dinners and insisting on professional counseling to address their behavior. For Rachel, the loss of her irreplaceable albums was a deep personal blow, yet it also galvanized her resolve to preserve her heritage. Determined to rebuild not only her physical memories but also her emotional strength, she began to restore the fragments of her past, one piece at a time, supported by the unwavering loyalty of her husband. 3 days later, a heartfelt email arrived from Katie, Emily's teenage daughter. In it, Katie apologized for her mother and grandmother's actions and explained that she had secretly taken photographs of the albums during a family dinner. Attached were more than 100 images that, while imperfect, captured the precious memories that Rachel had fought so hard to preserve. The unexpected gesture touched Rachel deeply. In those images, she found both a reminder of the love her parents had shared and a promise that not everyone in the family was driven by cruelty. Inspired by Katie's compassion, Rachel began the painstaking work of restoring her family history. With David's support, she collected every torn scrap and carefully reassembled the fragments. Each piece told a story of love, loss, and resilience. Although the albums could never be exactly as they were, the restored images, combined with newly taken photographs of moments with her newborn daughter, became a living tribute to her past. In her quiet moments, Rachel found comfort in the knowledge that true memories endure, even when others seek to erase them. In time, the destructive influence of Linda and Emily began to wane. Under the stern guidance of Robert and David's firm decisions, the rest of the family slowly recognized that genuine change was necessary. Linda and Emily were eventually required to attend counseling sessions, and their attempts to control the family narrative were openly challenged. Though it remained uncertain whether their attitudes would truly change, the family's unity began to reassert itself. The incident, painful as it was, had forced everyone to confront long-standing issues and to recommit to preserving what was truly important. As the months passed, the wounds began to heal. Rachel found solace in the love of her immediate family and in the support of those who truly cared for her. The ordeal had spurred a transformation in the household, as David and Robert worked diligently to protect the family's legacy. With renewed purpose, Rachel restored her cherished memories and reinforced the bonds that had once seemed fragile. The painful lesson was clear. True family is built on genuine love, not on forced control or shallow gestures. Gradually, hope began to replace the lingering pain of betrayal. At a quiet family ceremony held in their home, Rachel unveiled a newly restored photo album. Carefully compiled from Katie's photographs and fresh images of her newborn daughter, whom they named Hope, the album was a testament to resilience. Surrounded by David and a few supportive relatives, Rachel dedicated the ceremony to the memory of her parents. In that intimate gathering, she declared that real family was defined not by blood alone, but by the love and shared history that endures even in the face of cruelty. The ceremony marked both an ending and a new beginning. In the final analysis, Rachel emerged stronger and wiser from the ordeal. The shredded remnants of her family albums had become symbols not only of loss but of liberation. With David and Robert firmly by her side, and with even Katie's unexpected kindness, she reclaimed her heritage and rebuilt her legacy. As she rocked her daughter Hope to sleep and gazed at the silver locket containing a cherished photo of her parents, Rachel understood that true family is forged through love, respect, and honest remembrance. Her past, though marred by cruelty, now laid the foundation for a future defined by healing and hope.